Hi, everyone. This is your host, William Muniz, and welcome to the podcast. The topic is whether the United States should accept the emergence of a multipolar world order. Just for backstory, as Americans, we all have become accustomed to the idea that our country is the greatest in the world and therefore has responsibility to shape the global order in a way that ensures its involvement in even the farthest reaches of the world. The Cold War reinforced the notion that the United States would eventually be threatened domestically if it did not become more involved in faraway regions and nations. This policy was expanded to the non-Western world after the end of the Cold War. The United States has, over the past 30 years, acted as the world's lone superpower ever since the bipolar order with the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. This was a time when the United States could flex its power around the world with little restraint. Unfortunately, this policy has exacted a high cost on the strength and durability of the United States as a global power. The result has been endless wars, especially in the Middle East and other remote parts of the world. In recent years, other countries such as China and Russia have taken actions that have weakened American primacy in the world, such as the formation of BRICS, an economic alliance, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. This situation is not sustainable, and soon the viability of the United States as even a regional power will be questioned. The United States has become overstretched both economically and militarily and needs to accept the fact that a multipolar world order is emerging in which other powers carve out their own spheres of influence. If the United States plays its cards right, the new order might actually improve its influence and prosperity. Now, why would this emerging multipolar world order improve the prosperity of the United States? So first, the United States needs to accept the multipolar world order because it is already here. According to writer Michael Peters, the world is no longer at a point where the United States is the sole global hegemon. The growing economic partnership between Russia and China, the resistance to American power in the Middle East, and Russia's actions to make a sphere of influence in Eastern Europe are evidence that a multipolar world order is here. American and Western primacy as a whole is declining. Quote, the ongoing relative decline of countries, mostly nation states, mostly previous European great powers through decolonization in the 19th and 20th centuries, with the U.S. since reaching its zenith and peaking in the early 20th century, while other colonies, including ex-colonies, are rising or emerging in relative terms. The new multipolar world will benefit the United States because it will enable it to focus on its internal problems instead of trying to fix the rest of the world. The world would become more stable on account of the emergence of new regional powers. According to writer Baldev Raj Nayar, quote, the multipolar world order would emphasize regional power, which would lead to the other global powers enforcing stability in their areas of influence. The effects of this change will ensure that the United States focuses on its own region instead of needlessly becoming involved in remote parts of the world. The emergence of the multipolar world order should cause the United States to implement its policy that takes into account the changing balance of power and the need to stay out of unnecessary conflicts. The United States should recognize that other regional powers have legitimate security interests that should not be minimized or overlooked. According to Dr. Michael Dugan of the Chicago Journal for Foreign Policy, quote, the U.S. has asserted and defended its own sphere of influence for 200 years. The Monroe Doctrine, and therefore must recognize similar spheres for other world powers. Consistency is the first principle of mature foreign policy. End quote. This is further backed by Andrew Latham of Responsible Statecraft, who quote who states quote the United States should assume security responsibilities for mainly just the Western Hemisphere and encourage its allies to become self-reliant. The main levers the United States would use outside its sphere of influence would be primarily economic. The United States would free itself from the many issues that plague the rest of the world. End quote. The United States, by following this policy recommendation, would maintain its dominance over its natural backyard while recognizing the emergence of a multipolar world order and avoiding conflict with other regional powers such as Russia and China. The idea that the United States should accept a multipolar world order does have its skeptics. The main reasons being that the United States has a duty to protect liberal democracy around the world and stand up to tyranny. According to advantages and disadvantages of a bi- or multipolar world, quote, a multipolar world order would lead to alliances being broken on a whim and undermine the credibility of the United States among its allies around the world. End quote. The real argument is basically that there will be no balance because the United States would neglect its allies. This argument is not strong enough for policymakers in the United States to advise the prevention of a multipolar world order because it is in the interest of the United States to encourage its allies to become self-reliant while still remaining our friends. The dawn of a new multipolar world order might seem to some to be a frightening prospect, with the era of American hegemony fading like the sunset. There is no need to fear, since accepting this new order will ensure the prosperity of the United States for decades and centuries to come. The benefits the benefits being closer economic relations with the rest of the non-Western world, focusing attention at home, and avoiding unnecessary conflict by staying out of other powers' backyards. All Americans desire for their country to be prosperous and safe. Accepting the new multipolar world order will further this goal. The time is now, and the longer our country waits, the worse America's future will be. Let us as Americans not fear change, but embrace it and influence the changing power dynamics in the world to our favor. The American people are owed a government foreign policy based on realism and restraint that will ensure their security in the future. The acceptance by the United States of a multipolar order based on accepting spheres of influence and mutual respect for other nations will ensure this outcome. That is all. Thank you for tuning in.